It is being recorded. That is on my slide. I'm just trying to get
Okay.
this. Let me try to get a link and maybe just put the link instead of a file.
Melissa, I can see it too, and
Oh,
I
you
am
can
not
see
a
it.
co-host.
Okay,
Oh.
so you see it. That's good news. Thank you,
I've
Kirsten.
got it. I'm in it.
Okay, good.
She's all over it.
Let
I
me
see it
share
too,
it one more
Melissa.
time.
Love it.
Okay, I'll share it again. But I'm saying, okay. I just put it in one more time, so let me know if you can see it. Worst case scenario, I'll just post a link rather than a file.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be a tech thing.
Okay, so now I'm attaching it as a link rather than a file. So see if that helps.
Let's see. That. I can see it now. Thank you.
Oh, good. Okay.
Perfect. That's probably what it is, a link instead. We'll do it again at the end.
Okay, so at least we have, so Janet, if you want to copy that link somewhere, we can share that again later. So it seems like people, yay, we can access the link, that works. Okay, I'll say it one more time. Welcome to the session, Home Sweet Classroom. We'll wait another minute or two for people to join. While you wait, the PowerPoint is available in the chat. They're asking that you use speaker view to view this session. It is being recorded. And I do have a co-host / room monitor, Janet Hernandez. Thank you. She'll be monitoring the chat. If questions come up during the session, she'll keep an eye on the chat for me. Oh, good. Thank you. So I'm glad the link is working for folks. Thank you so much. And I do believe CCAE is going to make this presentation, the recording, available. So it is being recorded.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so Alice, you're here with CCAE?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so the recording will be available after the session today?
Yeah. I'm not sure how soon we'll post it, but it'll be posted.
Okay, great. Thank you. I feel like I should have music playing while we wait. That would have been nice.
Yeah, we didn't think about that.
I didn't. Okay.
Hey, Melissa.
Yes.
Someone is asking how do they do speaker view? Is there a way that you can show them while you're online?
Yes.
Let's see.
Speaker view?
You can do it if you look up on the top in the upper right-hand corner. Sorry, Melissa.
No, go ahead. You're fine.
Right-hand corner. Yeah, it says gallery. Click it. It'll be on speaker view.
Thank you, Alice. Hopefully that worked for folks. Okay, so for those of you who have just entered recently, welcome. The PowerPoint is available in the chat. You might need to scroll back to earlier in the chat, but there is a link. So you can access the PowerPoint in there. They're requesting that you use speaker view during the session. The session is being recorded and CCAE will make it available at some point after today. And post any questions you have in the chat. I do have a co-host who will be monitoring the chat for me as we proceed today. So just a few pointers to make this session a little easier and run smoothly. So welcome. And if you joined recently, please let me know if you were able to access the link. I'm gonna make sure it's still available in there. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So welcome. Home Sweet Classroom is this morning's session. Thank you to CCAE for putting on this virtual conference for all of us. My name is Melissa Baumunk. I work at Rowland Adult School, and I'm glad to be here this morning. And basically what I'm going to do is walk you through this lovely journey we've had of transitioning from traditional classroom teachers in a building to working from home, and really embracing that and making the most of what we have to work with in our home space. So our objectives today, hopefully by the end of today's session, you will feel empowered to repurpose your home space to function as an effective online classroom, and feel able to overcome any challenges to make working from home the best experience for both you and your students. You know, we think this will be great and this is easy, but let's face it, there are challenges to working from home. So really just kind of empowering yourself to face those challenges and overcome them. So just to kind of begin, think about what your home workspace looked back in March, you know, when we all were sent home and said, okay, start working from home. And what did that look like in March? Where were you? What were you doing? How did you manage? And compare that to what your home workspace looks like today. So they probably don't look the same. So I know back in March, I was like, wow, I'm working from home. I can sit on the couch, you know, kick my feet up. It was a little more relaxed and a little bit more of a casual feel. I thought I was going to be home for 2 weeks. So I just kind of made do with whatever space I could find. Here we are 9 months later, and I'm still working from home. So I said, you know, partway through this, I said, I need to really take charge and transform and take ownership that this is where I work from. This is, yes, it's home, but it's also work. So hopefully your workspace looks a little different now than it did back in March. So just reflect to yourself, how has your home workspace changed and why did you make those changes? And you probably made changes along the way to accommodate your needs, your personal needs when working from home. Because again, day one working from home, I didn't have a classroom in my home, I just had a home. So these are the 4 main questions I'm going to walk us through in transitioning your home or your home space into an effective workspace. So question 1, probably the most important, what space do you even have available to you in your home? And everyone's home is different. All of our space that we have available at home is different for each and every person. And then question 2, what resources do you have available? So you're always going to start with what you have readily available. I'm not saying run out to the store and create a whole new space in your house, but what do you already have available that you're not really using that you can repurpose in your home space? Part 3, question 3, what physical needs do you have? Are you a person who likes to be standing and moving? Are you someone who needs to be sitting for comfort reasons? Do you suffer from back pain? Do you suffer from headaches? Like there's just different physical, maybe even medical things you need to take into consideration. And then once you put all those things together and you make the best space you have, regardless, there are going to be things you need, and you're going to have to find and gather things that you need that you might not have readily available in your home. So question 1, what space do you have available in your home? There are lots of rooms available in your home. Some people might have already had a home office. You might have worked in your kitchen, your bedroom. Yes, I have worked from my bathroom. Some people might go out to their garage, an open loft. There's just your back patio, anything you have in your home. We have to use what we have available depending on what you have available and how many people you have in your home. So looking at those spaces. And then question 2, what resources do you have in your home? Do you have an extra table or an extra desk or a chair? Maybe you have a TV tray that you can use. Maybe you have, so there's just, I walked around my house in these early stages saying, what do I have in this house? What can I gather? What can I bring to help make my space easier to use? Another consideration, so one of that thing was furnishing. 2 is lighting. This space here might be comfortable, but I had one workspace in my house where all the light was behind me and it didn't work because my face was just a shadow. You have to think about acoustics and sound. That might be noise in the home, noise around the home, noise outside the home. Do you need privacy? I know some people might need privacy while they're working, and that these are all things that are considerations in working from home that you maybe didn't consider when you were working in your school building or in your classroom. And then of course, keeping yourself organized while you are at home. All things that I didn't really think of in March that have evolved over time in working from home. Next question, question 3, what physical needs do you have? This one is important because if you're going to be working from home, you might need to stand, you might need to sit, being in a certain piece of furniture might hurt your back if you're there for long periods of time. We're in our home, we're standing, and when we go to work, we make sure we're wearing comfortable shoes. We need to do all of those considerations at home as well. So you need to think about, again, not anything I thought of on the early days of this, but I noticed different needs depending on what room of the house I was working from. And then comforts, that's another one. I gathered things. I was trying to allow myself time to stand so I'm not sitting all day long. And so I found a floor mat, like a cushioned floor mat, so I can be standing on that rather than my hard floor. I keep glasses close by. If you need water, all of these things you need close by and readily accessible. So let's see. So I know that was a whirlwind and I'm going to walk you through the process, but real quick, I just kind of want you to think, what do you already have in your home that you're using? And what are some things you might need? And I'll revisit this question again a little bit later when we kind of see what this process looks like. So putting it all together. So here's a little, putting it all together. So our first question that I mentioned earlier, actually, let's go to Janet while we're here. Janet, what questions do we have in the chat that might need to be addressed before we move on?
So far, we don't have any questions, just comments. Someone said that they would use the doghouse as one of the places where they probably taught from. Um, and I shared that I used to record my PowerPoint audios in the bathroom because
Okay,
that was a nice quiet place. But so far, no questions. Jordana
okay.
was nice enough to put the link to your file on there, so
So again,
that's on
thank
there.
you, Jordana.
Okay.
Well, and that's thing is like at home, nothing is off limits. I've, same thing, when I was recording my PowerPoints and my lessons and I needed a quiet place, I would come upstairs and come into my closet, sit down, close the door, because that was the quietest space I could find in my house. So I would sit in my closet and do things. And I have worked from my bathroom as well. Um, Again, when another space in my house wasn't available and I needed to be out of the way for others, I've come up and sat in my bathroom. I've got a vanity there with a stool and worked in there. So really nothing's off limits when you're at home. But what we're trying to do is create a space that you can take ownership of, that would really function and maximize what you need to do at home. Another thing to consider when you're creating this space is materials. You do need to make sure you have all the materials available to you at home, whether it's your textbooks and teacher guides, workbooks, notebooks, pens, pencils, no different than your classroom. We have all of this available to us in our physical classroom, and it needs to be available to us in the home as well. And then also any personal items, if you need glasses, water, coffee, keeping chargers handy, medication close by. I know I keep chapstick close by because my lips get dry. Just everything I need is within an arm's reach and I don't have to search for it. And any day when I'm teaching and there was something I needed that I didn't have, I get it and I keep it close by. We're in the home and I just keep it within arm's reach so that it never becomes a problem or a distraction when I'm teaching from home. So here we go, putting it all together. What space do you have available in your home? So for me, I was really fortunate. I had this room here, this space available in my home. And really before working from home, the space was completely unused. We had a TV, but really nowhere to put furniture and use that TV. So this TV was never used. This space is really too small to put furniture in. And then directly behind me, you don't see it here in the picture, but directly behind me is stairs to go up and down the stairs. So this space in my home was not used. This TV was not used for anything. So when I started working from home, the first question, what space do you have available? Well, I had this space available. We weren't using it for anything at all. And it was really fortunate. I'm actually very fortunate in this area. Then the second question, what resources do you have available? Like I mentioned, I had this TV that we never used. It just sat on the wall. And with that, an HDMI cable. So those are some resources that I had available. I didn't have to buy anything. It was already available. We had this table. It's not a fancy table. It's a folded card table that we had folded up in the garage. I had that available. We dug it out, brought it into the house, put it right in the middle of the room. I had a yoga ball because in the early days of online teaching, there were days I was teaching for up to 6 hours a day. It was a long day and it's a long time to be sitting or in one position, and I'm not walking around a classroom anymore. So I tried to mix it up and find different ways to get through 6 hours online. So again, we had a TV, an HDMI cable, a folding card table out in the garage, a yoga ball, anything that I could gather in my house to use. I did have a whiteboard, markers, eraser. I threw those on my table to use them anytime. I noticed I needed my computer a little higher at times, so I had a photo box. I just grabbed that. I know people use stacks of books, whatever you have to adjust the height of your computer. So that's question 2. Question 1, what space do you have available in your home? Question 2, what resources do you have available to you? Question 3, what physical needs do you have? For me personally, it was just miserable sitting for 6 hours and up to 6 hours in a day. So I wanted to be able to move between sitting and standing without really interrupting my instruction. So that was one thing I really had to put some thought into in working from home, is how can I be seated? How can I be standing and stay comfortable for hours on end? That was my biggest question. And then question 4, what resources do you need? So I know what I had, and then I had to think about what more do I need? So in answering that question, moving between sitting and standing, I knew I needed a stand or a shelf or something so that my computer could be both low when I'm seated and then high when I'm standing, and move easily back and forth from those two positions. I also noticed I needed organizational supplies for my materials. I was teaching 2 different classes and I had 2 different sets of materials, and I wanted to be able to keep those organized on my table in my classroom. A need that I wasn't aware of at first was I needed a remote control for this TV. It's not within arm's reach, it's away from me. And the TV, it was a smart TV, and I didn't know this. It had hand controls on it, so the volume would change, it would mute on its own, and it would do different things on its own that would interrupt my instruction. So I finally said, let me grab the remote for that TV. So that was nearby if I needed to address any of those issues. And finally, I took that even a step further, and one day outside of class time, spent some time with the settings on the TV to turn off those hand controls that would interrupt my instruction in some days. So this was phase 1 really of my at-home classroom, the early stages when I finally took ownership and said, okay, I can't really sit on the couch or at the kitchen table. I really need to create a workspace at home. And this was phase 1 of that workspace. And you'll find working from home, your home space will be continuously changing and adapting. So phase 2, it says adapt and adjust. So I know my need was to be able to move from sitting to standing. So I addressed that need. So here I am sitting, my computer is low. And then I went out and I happened to be at the store and found this locker shelf. It was a couple bucks at the store and it was perfect. So I bought a locker shelf to be able to put my computer on when I moved to the standing position. It's small, it's lightweight, it moves easily. It's not a hindrance at all. And then some comfort items. I found a mat, a cushioned mat that I can stand on whenever I'm standing, if I wanted to be standing for long periods of time, because my floor is not carpeted. And then I found some indoor sandals with arch supports. So things we don't think of, but I don't wear shoes in my home. So I needed something just to kind of keep me comfortable for these long periods of time. And still phase 2, adapt and adjust. What resources do you need? So I found some, I didn't buy these, I had these in the home, some file organizers. There are 2 of them here. One for one class, one for another class, so I can keep my materials for each class organized and separate from each other. My shelf fits perfectly around those file organizers, so all of my files are organized, my materials are organized. I found the TV remote in case unexpected problems came up with the TV. I had that handy. Chargers, I do use my phone because I communicate with my students on WeChat and I send them items to access from home on WeChat. So I keep a phone charger handy, pens, pencils, erasers, everything is handy within reach. So anything you need during your classroom time, during your teaching time, just kind of find it, gather it, and keep it handy so you don't have to go searching if things come up. So that was phase 2, adapt and adjust. But I wasn't finished there. I'm currently in phase 3 of working from home, going beyond. So the other problem I had with my 2 screens is I have a screen here low and a screen here high. And so I was looking down or looking up during class. And so I always had to explain to my students why I was looking up. So to combat that, I have now an external webcam, and I played with the height settings on that with the tripod. And I switch between the two cameras. So I have my built-in camera on my laptop. And then when I need to stand and I'm at a different eye level and looking at my other TV, I can toggle between my built-in camera on my laptop and the external webcam. So that's one, and I don't expect everyone to do this. This is just me being a little extra at home with what I was doing. Another going beyond was, again, here I'm just showing you my shelf that I placed my laptop on so that I can go from sitting, which is here, the picture on the left, to now standing. And if you can see here, the camera now is more at my eye level here at the standing level. And if you'll notice here on my screen, I do have a virtual background that I use in class, and that's very purposeful as well. So that's a little bit of going beyond at home. So I'm going to give you a quick behind the scenes look at my setup. So I have these stairs right behind me, not ideal for teaching, not ideal. I have 4 people in the home, 2 dogs in the home, and someone is always going up and down these stairs, or a dog or something. There's always something happening behind me. So I do use a virtual screen so that you don't see the comings and goings of anyone else behind me. You can see my file organizers here with my materials, and then it's a mess. I know I was talking with my mom one day and I was telling her what I was doing. And she goes, "Oh, you just leave that out all the time?" I said, "Yeah, it's my classroom. It's part of my home now." And, not like we're hosting dinner parties and people are coming over. So I've owned it. I 100% own this is my home classroom. And that's just where I am right now with teaching, and many of us are. So that's part one. I'm going to move next into technology, but first, Janet, what do you got for me here? We want to see if anyone else has any tips or suggestions. I'm going to let kind of Janet field folks for that for a minute or two. What have you done that's working that maybe I didn't mention? Because like I said, I know everyone's home space is a little bit different. So what is maybe a helpful hint that you've tried at home that works?
We do have one question
Oh, sure.
from Beverly. She says, how do you incorporate the virtual screen? That she's tried following the directions and it didn't work. Maybe you can talk about like what Zoom and how you did it.
Or do you mean the screen or the background?
Uh, she says incorporate a virtual screen. I'm assuming it's the back. Yes, it's the background.
Oh, in the Zoom settings. So when that's part of your Zoom settings that you kind of need to play around with. I saved different backgrounds for myself, but when I go to start video, you can choose a virtual background. But I know it doesn't work well for some people. It kind of depends on what you have going on behind you. If there's too much light, or depending on the color. I know some people do have trouble using that virtual background, but I know when I go to Zoom, I just click choose virtual background and I can select. They have preset choices, or you can even save your own photos and backgrounds in there. Beverly, was that your question, or was it something else?
She wants to know, does the meeting have to be open first, or is that something she does before the meeting?
Oh, okay. So I go in my settings outside of a meeting and I have a virtual background selected. So when I start a meeting, it automatically is up. So I don't have, but I can change it during a meeting. You can start it during a meeting, but in my settings outside of a meeting, I have it as one of my presets. And I have the background I want selected.
Great. We have another question, or probably challenge regarding lighting.
Okay.
There's some of us that teach in the morning and then also teach in the evening. So what do you suggest going from that morning light, that beautiful morning sunshine to to
Yes.
nighttime?
So I was very fortunate because as you can see, I've got two, one here and one on the other side. I have great lighting in front of me at home. But my niece is a teacher at home, and I happened to see a picture of her home classroom also. And on her desk behind her laptop, she had this thing, and I said, "Oh, what's that?" And it was a light. So she had gone out and bought, and it's like a circle. It looked like, the magic mirror, a hollow circle, but it was a light that she put in front of her, behind her laptop in front of her. So I don't know, and it didn't look like anything fancy or expensive, but yeah, you may have to get an external light to use. And she placed that, let me see, I don't know if you can see, but just on her desk, right? So where my tripod would be, she had a light, an external light. And I think it's made especially for this home scenario that a lot of us are in now.
Yeah, someone is saying it's called a ring light.
Oh, there you
A
go, a
ring
ring light.
light. Uh-huh. And
There's the
Jordana
technical
just
term.
and Jordana just put the link to buy it on Amazon, I
Oh,
believe.
perfect. There you go. If I taught at night, I might need that, but I don't work at night. Good tips. Thanks, folks. Okay, so we're going to move on. The second portion here will be technology, and then we'll do a little more share time at the end, because I do want to address technology, because that is another one of the big challenges in working from home. So basically, we're at the mercy of whatever equipment we have at home, whether it's a desktop computer, a laptop, iPad. Your agency, your school may have been able to provide you with something if you didn't have personal equipment. But I know, I use a smartphone alongside with my laptop. Oops, sorry. If you have the ability and you want to incorporate dual screens, which I do and I love it, you can use another additional computer monitor. We just happen to have a TV. TV sometimes can function as an additional computer monitor. You may need a camera if you don't have one in your laptop. Tripod, microphone, headset, the list can go on and on and on of things you can possibly use at home with working from home. Other things to consider working from home, you need to make sure you have outlets nearby or extension cords. Oh, here's one of the things we mentioned, that extra lighting that might be necessary. HDMI cables to connect those additional monitors or TVs. And a big one is that internet connection. I never thought so much about internet until working from home. If we were all, I spent 20 years in education, and in all those years, we had a technology person at work. Something didn't work in my classroom, my computer didn't connect, my projector didn't work, something along those lines. And there was always a computer person to call to fix that problem for us. Well, we don't have that luxury anymore. We are the IT department at home. So with that, the big thing is there are different kinds of internet connection. You can have the landline, Ethernet, LAN cable. There's Wi-Fi in your home. You can, if you would like to upgrade, there's options of Wi-Fi extenders, the use of hotspots. I couldn't think of any others, but if you know any others, just feel free to type them in the chat, and Janet can take note of other types of internet connections. But there's just an abundance of internet out there, and it can be overwhelming if the world of technology isn't your world. So I'll just walk you through a few. This is the old school LAN cable, but this is a great option because you don't have to worry about wireless internet. You're connected directly. We do have one of our computers at home that uses the Ethernet LAN cable for a connection, and that's a great option because it's very fast and we don't have to worry about the reliability of that computer. There's Wi-Fi, which most of you get through your maybe cable or internet provider at home. The router looks many different ways. That's just an example of one, but you can have Wi-Fi connection at home. One of the first things we did during this whole work from home order, because we had myself, my husband working from home. I have 2 college students working from home. One of the first things we did was call our internet provider to come out to our home, and he kind of boosted our internet for us. We pay a couple bucks more a month, but that was worth it to get a little bit more of a reliable internet within our home. Additionally, you can get a Wi-Fi extender. This kind of, it feeds off of the Wi-Fi service you have in your home, but it boosts it and makes it more powerful and more. So these are just different versions. They come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. These are just a couple of examples of what that Wi-Fi extender might look like in your home. Other sources of internet connection could be a hotspot. You might have a hotspot capability on your phone that you pay for. There's also external hotspots that you can use to help with internet connection at home. So there's definitely a lot of options with connecting to internet at home. The most important thing is to know your home internet. And I'll admit I was guilty of this. I didn't know anything about this prior to working from home. But now I know my home internet inside and out, and how to use it most effectively. We do have one computer, like I mentioned, that is on a Ethernet cable, so it is not wireless. We called Spectrum out, and the guy was in my house early on, and he's walking me through our internet connections. He said, here's your 5G, here's your 2G. And I never in my life did I ask this question, but I said, well, what's the difference between 5G and 2G? Because I don't know, I hear those terms. Depending who your internet provider is, you might have different forms of this. You might have 3G, you might have 4G, they might call it something else, I'm not sure. I'm just sharing you what I know with mine because I made sure to know my home internet. So he explained to me for our internet, the 5G was a faster connection, but it has a shorter range. The 2G is a slower connection or slower internet, but it has a farther range. To this day, I don't remember that. So I have it written down and I know where to find it when I need to know which internet to use. And then we also have a Google Wi-Fi extender in the home. The other thing, know your passwords and write them down. Last thing you want is to be in the middle of class and your Wi-Fi goes down for whatever reason, or you get kicked out of your internet in the middle of a lesson and you have to get back in, but you need a password. Know them and write them down so you know how to access those quickly. So now that I know my internet connection in my home, we had to come up with a plan of this. So we use, well, the LAN cable, it doesn't matter. That's the desktop one. But the 5G we've designated for the rooms nearest to our Wi-Fi router. And then the 2G we utilize for any connections that are a little bit farther from the Wi-Fi router. And as a family, we kind of walked the house and pointed which devices will use 5G, which devices will use 2G. And then we also have the Wi-Fi extender. And this, if you're in the kitchen at our house, you absolutely have to be on the Wi-Fi extender because neither the 5G or the 2G is effective that far away. So if we're in the kitchen or the dining room or maybe even out in the patio, we have to make sure we are on the Wi-Fi extender. And then when I know I'm going to be somewhere where I don't have reliable internet connection, I know I have a hotspot on my phone, and I've practiced accessing that hotspot. So if ever I need to do so, it's not new to me. I know how to make that connection. So again, I just reiterate, know your internet connection and how to access them. The next thing we did at home as a family is we assigned which internet to use and on which device and for which person. And we stick to that because you don't want to overload one of your internet connections and have everyone be on the same thing at the same time, because then your internet will become less reliable. So we've made a plan as a family, which internet connection we will use as people and as devices and within each room. And as a family, we need to know that because we're working together in this space, sharing this space and sharing the internet. With that, maintain a calendar. You're working from home and the lines between home and work can become a little blurred. So maintain a calendar, your own personal calendar, a family calendar, whatever works for you. Create a personal schedule. Again, I'm working I'm home, no matter whether I'm working or not working, I'm in the same space. So I have to really make sure we differentiate between work hours and non-work hours. And what I mean by that is it's easy to work all day long when you're at home. And I'm sure you can all nod in agreement. I'm home, so I'm just going to keep working. So one of the things to combat that is whether it's for yourself, if you're home by yourself, or if you happen to be home with your family, create a schedule so that everyone in the home knows work hours and non-work hours, and be respectful of those to yourself and for those around you. So here's just an example. We've got 4 people in the home, everybody online, and I created a color-coded schedule for each person's. I have 2 people who are in school taking classes, so they have their times colored out. So these are just consistent daily times. My husband's schedule changes day to day or week to week, so his is blank. But all I did was print this out, put it in a plastic sleeve, and put it on the kitchen refrigerator. So what this tells us is right here, 8:30 or 8 to 9:30, we have 3 people on the internet at that time in the home, and possibly 4 if my husband also has a meeting. So we have to be very mindful. Again, going back to those internet connections and who's using what at those times. And also just being respectful of each other's time in the home. The whole family knows when you do not interrupt me during these times, because I am actually teaching. Outside of those times, you may see me in my classroom working, but it's okay to interrupt me though during those times because they are outside of my scheduled work time. So we respect each other's time and we know work time and non-work time.
Melissa, we have a
Yes,
question
absolutely.
regarding
I
what,
was just going to break right now anyways for the discussion and comments. So yes, go
okay.
ahead.
Someone's asking, how did you set up your schedule? Is that an Excel program?
This is an
Um,
Excel, yeah, this is an Excel spreadsheet that I made.
okay,
I printed it out and it's on my refrigerator for us to
thank
look
you.
at. You're welcome. Any other questions in regard? I'm not a technology guru. I'm not an internet guru. Again, I'm just walking you through the process in my home. I'm going to go back to this one. This will definitely look different in your home. But my message here is just take that time to really get to know what you have to work with in your home. So yeah, let's open it up to maybe any questions or comments or anything maybe you've done at home that you would be valuable for other people in the session to hear in regard to internet.
There's a really great comment. Someone says that the schedule that you set up, that it's really good to send that to family members so that they don't phone you during your work hours. um, which is absolutely true because my sister always forgets that I work in the morning and in the evening. And since I have a MacBook and an iPhone, it'll start ringing on my computer when she's calling. So I've got to like kind of mute that or take her off or kindly remind her that I'm busy during those times.
That's a
So,
great tip. That's a very good tip.
right.
I could send this to my mom because she's always kind of calling at the wrong time also. So that's a good idea. Maybe sharing it with family members outside of your home who tend to call at those inopportune moments. Good tip. Anything else? Any other comments or questions regarding internet?
There's a question here saying, was it a was it challenging to get your family on board with having and adhering to the schedule?
Um, Not really, because as you can see, they're so what I put here is their actual, so especially when it comes to my children, it's their class time. So this is the bare minimum of when everyone's busy. Outside of their class time, of course, is then homework time. And the beauty of it is we've got, in the course of a day, I've got probably 2 people upstairs and 2 people downstairs. So we really keep to ourselves all day long and don't really interact or see each other, even though we're all 4 home, because our workspaces are in 4 different places of the home as well. So that hasn't been a problem. You'll see people middle of the day for lunch coming down, and that's when you'll see people. And then here we go evening time. So here we go. 5 o'clock is then when we start the whole let's make dinner and have dinner kind of time. So no, but we did have like a discussion early on. And when I created the schedule, that was kind of the discussion, is just respect everyone's time. And I said, give me any time at all that you need blocked off so that we don't bother you. So, and it's hard. We're home and it's easy to ask, one of your children to do a favor, like, hey, can you? Hey, can you? But I'll glance at the schedule first before I make any of those asks. So that was a good point there.
Someone
Okay.
also said that they could do their calendar on Google Calendar, or their scheduling on Google Calendar, and then share it with the boss, share it with the family if everyone's linked up to the same calendar. So
Yeah.
that's another good suggestion.
Yeah, those are all great suggestions. I do, like, when I come here to this personal calendar and personal schedule, I keep everything same thing on my digital calendar, which we do as well. But this is like literally just more. I needed that extra visual with the 4 people. It's on. I put it on the refrigerator. Everyone sees that refrigerator how many times a day. So I just put it on a place where I know everyone will see it. And then of course it's in a the page protector sleeve, and I keep some markers handy so they can add, if they have the virtual social things through their college, they can block off any additional time. That way we can keep that in mind also. I have added meetings for work that aren't part of my daily Monday through Friday. I can just color those in to add that extra time also.
Plus, it's also like a good visual to see like when people are available for that family time. Because you can clearly see it on your schedule that, dinner time or evening is a good time for you guys to schedule family time, to get out of the house, away from the computer, away from work, and do something just special and different.
No, and that's a great point, Janet. Thank you for mentioning that, because maybe not so much with my kids, because they're not kids, they're adults, but they're in the home. But my husband and I definitely make use. It's funny because in the morning I get up and I go downstairs and I'll just say, bye, I'm going to work. And he'll say, have a good day at work. We do try to treat this as normal as we can. And then we'll look at each other's calendars for the evening, and because some of his meetings will go late, to 6, 8 o'clock at night, and those will be colored off here. But I'll look at the calendar, and if there's nothing going on Tuesday, I'm like, oh, Tuesday, let's go for a bike ride, and we'll take our, we'll go out, because you need to get out of the home, or just kind of do something that separates you from home, that you're there all day long working. So yeah, good point, Janet. It's kind of the ability to be able to see when you have time common to take a break from that
Oh,
constant
yeah.
working all day long.
Kirsten has made a great suggestion. She said, if you don't want to buy a light ring, you can always just use a floor lamp that has a desk lamp attached to it, and move around your floor lamp instead of having to purchase a light ring, or a
Yeah.
ring light, or whatever they're called.
Yeah, I agree. Find what you have available first. Like, I'm going back to my space here. I'm going to show it one more time. Like, this is not pretty or ideal, but it doesn't matter. Like, I call this my classroom, and it's here to stay. And if I needed to, I would have moved my lamp right on over here behind my table and put a light right there. Like, you need to do whatever it is to make your space work for you. So yeah, I'm not by any means saying spend money. Like, repurpose everything you have in the home to work. So thank you, Kirsten.
There's a
Anything
question
else?
regarding the second monitor.
Okay.
Jim is asking, is it something that's done within Zoom or in the computer setting, or both? So how did you set
Okay.
up that second monitor?
I'll be honest. My kid did it for me, but
So how
I
did
could
he do
figure it
it?
out. I could figure it out. So it it's not really within Zoom. So really it's the TV. Here's the HDMI cable. The HDMI cable sets directly to the laptop. And then on my laptop, I had to go, well, he did it, but I did kind of watch. You go somewhere into settings, and there is a place there for monitor. And I was able to choose which one I want it to be monitor 1 and monitor 2. So my laptop is monitor 1 and the TV is monitor 2, and you can make those, make that choice in the settings, because monitor 2 isn't even an option if the TV is off. So that's, so yeah, it's outside of Zoom. There might have been something else I had to do within Zoom, but I don't really remember. So sorry, Jim, I couldn't be more help with that.
How about chairs? I don't know if they're commenting about your chair or if you have a suggestion on a really good chair.
Well, this chair, I did actually end up buying. It didn't cost a lot, but it's a rolling chair. If you can see, I'm on a hardwood floor, so it does roll, which makes that kind of easy for me. My point is, do what's easy and what's comfortable. It is padded, so I don't need a padding, but if I had a hardwood chair, I would probably have a pillow or something to have some comfort. But there was another chair in the house I could have used, but it's actually upstairs with the desktop, which my oldest child uses, but they use a pillow because it's just a hardwood chair. So yeah, was that the question about the chair? I know people, teachers who've gone out and bought the huge, expensive, ergonomic chairs.
Yeah.
I didn't quite do that, but I guess at the end of the day, if you return to a classroom, you can take that with you back to your classroom. So that's a personal choice.
Good.
Anything else there?
No.
No. Okay. So as we begin to wrap up, I'm going to revisit our objectives from earlier today. I hope you can leave today feeling a little more empowered to repurpose your home space. Take ownership of it. This is the reality of where we are today, and don't be shy, don't be afraid to just kind of make the space your own. And hopefully you have some ideas of how you can overcome some of those challenges of setting up that workspace to work effectively from home. Really, the sky's the limit. Never stop asking yourself these 4 questions. Like I said, my workspace has evolved over time. It's gone through a few different phases. Embrace working from home. The sky's the limit. There could be something that comes up tomorrow that I'll say, oh, it'd be great if I had this, or if I was able to this. Then I might ask myself, well, is it possible? And I guess the point here is just that constant problem solving. If there's a problem, address it, overcome it, and that way it doesn't become a repeated problem. So I'm just leaving it open now to any questions or comments. I mean, the comments that some of you have shared have been very helpful for everyone else here, so we can open it up before we say goodbye for the day.
Yeah, just someone had a comment saying getting over having my space look ugly is a challenge. And that's so true.
I agree with you 100%. I'm not that kind of person either. And I think I mentioned earlier, my mom said, oh, and you just leave the table out? I said, yeah. At this point, I had to accept this is my classroom. And in the odd event that I have someone come over, I'm like, hey, welcome to my classroom. This is my classroom, and it stays. Like, I don't put the table away at the end of the day. I don't pack everything up. It just stays. And you just have to own it. It's there to stay, because that's the reality of what we're doing right now. So yeah, for the person who said that, I understand 100%. It is difficult to have something like this, but at the same time, ask yourself, who's coming over and seeing it? Nobody. It's there, and it's more important that you're able to function effectively with what we're doing at home. So there you go.
Okay, Mark has a question regarding the extenders.
Okay.
What experience have you had with the extenders that you're having, or that you bought? Maybe you can share like which one you bought.
Okay, so we have the Google Home. It is expensive, so I'm not saying go out and buy it. This one, I'm not really sure. The Google Home, I think, is like $250. It's a lot. But again, we've got 4 people on our internet a lot of the day, and we all need reliable internet. So you place these, like I said, we've got one in the farthest corner of our home where our home internet isn't the most reliable. And let me also add, these have a different connection than your home internet. So when you're connecting, make sure you choose the right one. But these have been great. They're very reliable as far as having a reliable connection with internet. So Janet, do you have a different type of Wi-Fi extender? And what do you use?
Yeah, Michael bought something up just on Amazon. I know he didn't pay 250, and
Right.
I'm positive he didn't go through the provider.
Okay.
So it was just something I think he bought off on Amazon, and they're pretty good. The only thing, like I told you, I think it's unsecured the way he set it up.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's just true for the extenders all around, or if that's just how he set it up and didn't really realize that it was an unsecured connection in that sense.
Do you need a
But
password to connect to it?
well, yeah, we use a password, but when I've gone in, it's said something like this is an unsecured site or something like that. So I was like,
Okay.
that's not the one I'm going to use when I'm, looking at my bank account.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, no, yeah, so there's a wide variety of extenders out there if that's an option for you. Again, if you're the only person in the home working online, probably don't need that, but if you have multiple people at home, it's definitely a great option. So, all right, we're coming on to 9:50, so I want to thank everyone for being here. I'll remind you that the link to the PowerPoint was in the chat if you wanted to be able to access that. And I thank you for your time. I know we have the next session beginning at 10. So I'll let folks move on to that if you're trying to get into the next session. I will stay on here if we need further discussion or questions for anyone who would like to stay on here for further discussion. But aside from that, thank you so much for sharing your morning with me. And I hope there was at least something helpful that you can kind of embrace the space you have at home.
Yes, a lot of thanks coming in on the
Oh, good.
chat.
Thank
So.
you. This. Oh, I can see you now if you happen to have any questions.
Oh, I should probably start my video too. Okay.
So Jim,
Is he still there?
yeah, Jim's still there.
Yes, I am. Yes.
So are you saying you have a second monitor at home that you may want to try to
Well,
use?
I will be doing that because I just bought a new laptop, but I haven't had a chance to set it up. But I confirmed that I can hook up an older monitor I have to it. And I also bought a little stand to raise up the laptop so it's eye level, and then
Yeah.
have an external keyboard so that I'm not doing weird things with my neck.
Exactly.
And I
I've done
do
all of
wanna-
those. I've done all of those things, so I feel you.
Yes.
So
So
if
I
you
would
have
like to have,
problems,
what's that?
if you have problems connecting your second monitor, just let me know and I'll have my kids show me again and run through it that way.
Oh,
And
thanks.
I'll take notes this time.
Oh, thank you.
That way,
I
if you need
appreciate
help, yeah, setting that up,
So it looks like basically you have the Zoom session on the TV, and
yeah,
then whatever you want your students to see on your laptop. That's what you're really doing, right?
exactly how I do it. Because with 20 students, I want to be able to see all of them. So
Sure.
they can, and then, so they're up there on the TV. I teach from my laptop and it works really well.
No, that sounds like a really great idea. Yeah.
Mhm. So,
Thank-
yeah, good. Okay, yeah, if you need help setting up that second monitor, just let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I think Janet said they needed the link again in the chat.
Yeah. I'm
Were you
trying to
able to-
get that, but
It was way up there.
I know.
Let's see. Let me try and
I have
share it
another
again.
question, Melissa.
Sure.
Can you access the chat for one of these Zoom sessions after the fact, or is it like impossible?
So
Jordana's-
I've done that before and it comes out like the formatting comes out like as that weird
Oh,
dot code kind of formatting. And I took
Yeah.
one look at it and I was like, I don't know. who's
Oh,
gonna
okay.
sit
All
and
right.
read that.
That's why I clicked on those links Jordana put up really fast so that they're already in Amazon, and Amazon will remember those for the rest of history. So that's good.
There you go.
I can't get to the link.
Here, let me try and just share it again. Where's the chat? Okay, so I'll just share it directly one more time
Yeah.
for anyone else who needs it.
Because I think, remember, the link worked better than the file.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put the link one more time. Okay, there's the link for whoever wanted
Perfect.
it. Okay,
And you're still recording, right? Perfect.
I'm still recording.
Okay.
And
Nice.
let's see. So what session's everyone going to next?
Good question. Oh, the blended one, the
Oh
blended
yeah, I
learning
forgot there was
model.
a blended learning.
So I'm going to log out of yours so I can
Okay.
take a quick little break. And then, I don't know, I guess I'll see you over there. Are you going to that one?
I think I'm going to blend it as well. So, okay, folks, let me